Welcome into a new edition of Inside Cowboys Training Camp presented by Ford here from the Star in Frisco, Texas. Alongside Nick Eatman, I'm Kyle Youmans of DallasCowboys.com. As training camp continues in Frisco, the Cowboys having their second practice on Wednesday in the Lone Star State after their Oxnard swing, and still having to try and figure out the rotation behind some injuries. Of course, the tight end position was affected with Sean McCune in Friday's loss against the Arizona Cardinals, but most notably the defensive tackle spot with Neville Gallimore. How big of a loss is Gallimore at that position?
Well, it's a big loss because Gallimore was actually playing as well as anybody that we've seen in that defensive tackle position. And it's one of those spots where, you knew something would kind of work its way out some way, one way or another. You didn't want it to be this way where he's on the field in a lot of pain. And when you're just watching the injury and watching his reaction, you're thinking this has a potential to be season ending. So the fact that it's 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, is somewhat encouraging, even though you don't want him to miss any time because, like I said, he was playing as well as anybody.
They're hoping to get him back sometime during the first month of the regular season, but until then, they have to find a way to make that rotation somewhat presentable, I think, at the defensive tackle spot. And this is a defense that struggled in that position last year. What do you expect the rotation to look like?
Well, I think Carlos Watkins, a veteran that they brought in, he was at Houston earlier in his career, and I think that he's a guy that's played well. Osa Odigizua is another guy that they drafted that he'll factor into this thing. So they drafted Quentin Bohanna. He plays a little different role than Gallimore, but they got a lot of different guys. Brent Urban's another one. But with Gallimore out and Chauncey Golston not doing a lot right now, he's been injured, and then also with Tristan Hill still being out, this defensive line, they're gonna probably have a lot of different guys that are throwing at the wall hoping that something sticks.
With as much of the injured players being on that defensive line as there are currently for the Dallas Cowboys, is there any kind of worry as to how that defense is going to look heading into the year?
Yeah.
Because of the front seven?
I think you have to worry about the defense. Until you show us that it's different, I think you have to kind of worry about it. I mean, they were one of the worst defenses in the league last year, from what the stats say. And then also they gave up more yards or more points than any team in franchise history. So you have to show it. You have to prove that there's no reason to worry. What we've seen in the preseason, which is preseason, has looked pretty good. They fly around the ball. They create some turnovers. So they're going to have to carry that over. We know they're not going up against starters, but they don't have a lot of starters out there as well. So it's encouraging for what we've seen in practice and the games. But they're going to have to stop the run, like you said. They're going to have to stop the run. You know that Tampa Bay is going to go run the ball. Regardless of who their Hall of Fame quarterback is, they're going to run it. And they're going to get tested early in that first game.
So halfway through the preseason, the Cowboys defense against the run, giving up less than 4 yards per carry. So right now, looking pretty good. Still a long way to go until that September 9th opener against Tampa Bay. How does Amari Cooper look as he makes his return from injury? We'll hear from wide receiver one when we return.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Sleep Number. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep, only at a Sleep Number store. And by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Entering segment number 2 here of Inside Cowboys Training Camp presented by Ford. And Amari Cooper has entered segment 2 of training camp, active, back on the field, back on the practice field as that completes that wide receiver trio that Cowboys fans are so excited about. What have you seen from Amari Cooper and his return from the injury?
Well, we saw the one practice that he really got out there on Tuesday of this week, and I thought it was doing what he does is kind of quietly, nonchalantly. He's not the the flashiest player, but he gets the job done. It was a slant over the middle, and it was really the first time I was like, oh, I didn't even know we were back. We're doing this. And all of a sudden, he catches the ball over the middle and goes about 15, 20 yards in that particular drill. But that's kind of what he does. That's his role. And, you look up at the end of the year and he's got 92 catches, a career high. But that's if there's such a way, and here's the catch I'm talking about, but I mean, there's nothing great about it except for the result, which is great.
No doubt about that, and I'm sure it's probably eased the nerves of a lot of Cowboys fans to see 19 back on the field. But here's what his workload could look like moving forward and kind of how it's up to him.
No, it was really up to me. I wasn't ever going to get just a full load of practice, but after I went through individuals and stuff like that, I was just like, I feel good, so I did a little bit more.
Are you 100%?
I feel like I am, yeah. But I don't know. I would really have to run like the whole route tree. It's just a lot that I haven't done. That I when I was 100%, obviously I did everything. I ran every route. Some things on a football field are harder to do than others. And I haven't really done the more challenging aspects of my position yet, so I don't know.
So everything pointing up for Amari Cooper. Our player sound, by the way, brought to you by Sleep Number. And Mike McCarthy said it on Wednesday that he does not – it's a pretty good chance that Dak Prescott will not play in the preseason. I'm going to ask you that same question. How much do you see Amari Cooper playing in the final 2 preseason games?
Well, I think every player is different. It's got to be case by case on this, except for maybe the offensive line, because that's where you want a little bit more continuity. But I think for Amari, if he needs to go out there and run routes, I think what he was saying there too is that it's hard to simulate football unless you're playing football. I mean, that's the best way to get back into football shape. And so I could see him getting a few snaps here and there, and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We've seen him have some success last year. I think that was one of the most impressive things was the fact he had a career high in catches, and he played with 4 different starting quarterbacks throughout the year. So that's a sign of a guy that understands the system, understands where to be, and he can be quarterback friendly regardless who the quarterback is.
He was definitely reliable for Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert last year in game action. He's going to be reliable for Dak Prescott, no doubt about it, whenever Ford does make his return to the field. What about the rest of that defense, though? We'll go back to that side of the football. Talk about the linebacker rotation. What will it look like in 2021 when we return on Inside Cowboys Training Camp?
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Sleep Number. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store. And by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you.
Welcome back to Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford. Nick Eatman, Kyle Youmans here from the Globe Life Studios at the Star. And one of the biggest questions surrounding this Cowboys offseason was, how is the linebacker position going to rotate? We start seeing guys like Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch getting more snaps with the first team. How have they looked playing together?
Well, I mean, Micah Parsons looks great with just about anybody. I mean, but I think Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, Keanu O'Neal, they're figuring things out. And the weird thing about it is that what we see in practice, what we see in games, is not really what we're going to see, in the regular season games. That's the beauty of Dan Quinn and the coaching staff, and trying not to be vanilla when we get to the season. But right now, you're just lining them up. But I think Micah Parsons has done a great job. When you draft a player overall, 12th overall like that, he's going to play. We know that. Everyone should know that. And he's been good enough to warrant that. So now the other guys, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Keanu O'Neal, they're going to have to figure out packages for all of them.
Looks like there's going to be a chance that 6 linebackers make the team overall, I think.
I would think so. I would think you've got, you drafted Jabril Cox. He's done a nice job as well, especially on special teams, and Luke Gifford the same way. So, I mean, I think you've got a solid 6. Just how they all play is going to be interesting.
Going to be tough decisions for Dan Quinn moving forward. That's going to do it for us on Inside Cowboys Training Camp.